Right. So we're here at Kast, and I can't thank you enough, Blake, for calling me. And then we did that. And if you could keep flipping pages here, you're going to see in this lookbook we communicate how we slice the log and how that's going to affect the visual, whether it's going to be a flat cut, whether it's going to be torque cut. You just keep flipping pages here. A rotary cut, all this, how we slice the log is going to have a dramatic effect on the visual. But how we assemble those leaves, those slices, which are called leaves, that's going to have a dramatic effect on the visual. Then how we assemble those sheets into the project, that's going to have a dramatic effect on the visual. If there's one consistent thing, unfortunately, I see among architecture and design community, is there's just a lot of genuine ignorance as to the complexities of wood. This is my role. My role is to support Lynn here for National in dealing with the complexities of wood. Now, in this lookbook, we're just showing you the types of projects that we have done, some of the projects we've done around the world, across all the different categories. Now, if we can stop on this picture right here for a moment. This picture is, by the way, cherry is the species. I want to get a sense of who my wood experts are here. No? No one's going to take a chance?
I'm not that good.
I think I'm an expert.
Okay, all right. So that's flat cut, okay? And that's book managed. Now, you've heard those before, okay? But by the way, don't feel embarrassed because most of the principal architects that I communicate with also don't know. They're used to the words, but they don't really understand what they mean. Okay, so we see specifications that are going all the way to the point where they're ready to purchase, and we have these little discussions of, do you really want cherry book matched in sequence? Because that's what it's going to look like. Oh, no, I don't want that. We'll flip through some more pages here. Okay, and so sequencing is the word I'm going to be using in our discussion today. Okay, take the word sequencing out of the specification, you're going to see something that's going to look, completely different. But keep flipping some pages here. And so burls, keep going. These are, a lot of these substrates are direct to drywall. So this is installed like wall covering. So how did Blake and I meet? Because Emory University, specified by Slam Collaborative, could not afford the millwork package. And so keep flipping. So what we did is we said, well, if we use our veneer, which is sliced uniquely thin, bonded uniquely to an aluminum interlayer, which is in that sample that Lynn has over there, and now we can bond it directly to the gypsum substrate like they did at this London, downtown London, okay? And now this one, we're going to talk also about how we can take that veneer and we can go multi-substrate. So that's my strength as Sanfoot wood veneer, is that it's a pre-finished multi-substrate, ready to stick to something product. So this is lay meridian. This is actually acoustic. Notice how light that is. And I tell my folks, listen, if you think you've got the budget for millwork, you have the budget for premium architectural wood veneer acoustic in sequence. This is as complex as it gets. This is custom ceruse, which is a lime wash, gets stuck into the tooth of the grain of the ash. Then this is a custom stained gray. The designer gave us a digital map, which we printed in Japan, because all of our veneers are handmade in Japan. Whatever's done on the factory floor on a Thursday, ships by air, comes to our facility in Southeast Florida near where I live. Now, that was also sent to our factory, which is our partnership, modeacoustic.com. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And that factory turned that veneer into an acoustic system in sequence. So now you have premium millwork, you have artwork, and you have acoustics all in one. That's how you maximize the dollars for your client. All right, keep flipping through some pages, and you can just see most of these installs now, like Echo Condo, they're all direct to gypsum.
What kind of finish?
You want a 4 or 5. 4 or 5. So you're going to pay more to get to that jet. Keep flipping.
So you say aluminum, aluminum behind this.
Yes.
The aluminum.
Nope. So you have in that sandwich that you're looking there, which is only 1/2 millimeter thin, 1/64 of an inch. You have premium veneer bonded to an aluminum foil, 0.15 millimeter. You would have to sand the veneer off to see it.
Yeah.
Bonded to a paper backer. So now that 1/2 millimeter, okay, is able to stick to all sorts of different things using different glues because that aluminum is preventing the chemistry of the glue from affecting the oil in the veneer. Okay. Keep flipping. This in China. So a lot of these projects are from all over the world. So we celebrated this is in Rochester, by the way. This is all bonded to drywall. Fry regular reveals, all drywall. You could not afford that as a millwork package. Who knows what architectural millwork and sequence price point is running at right now? Right. Have an idea? Yes.
You need a panel?
Like a panel wall system. Let's say you wanted a ceiling system or a wall system, all beautiful wood veneer, all planned out.
$50 to $67 a square. Anywhere from 60 to 120.
60 to 120. Supply only or install?
Installed.
Okay. 60 is a P-land.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that for install.
Yeah.
80 will be wood, non-sequenced. 120 is installed sequenced. So your numbers are pretty accurate. Okay. But by the way, most of the design community has no idea because they're disconnected. So they're creating beautiful design. They don't know if they can afford it. And that's where we come in. Check this one out. Okay. I don't even put this in my CEU for my architects because this is bonded in field using contact cement, but we can use a peel and stick glue line as well. This is in the border of China and Russia, where labor is a lot cheaper. Right? The substrate here is glass reinforced gypsum. Now in the States, if you have about $280, $300 square foot budget, we're ready to take your projects. But we're seeing more of seamless looking wood as a design trend. There's no way you can do that as a millwork substrate. There's no way you can do seamless because that MDF or that plywood panel needs to dilate individually. Okay, so when you go to glass reinforced gypsum, now you can do the seamless millwork look. Keep looking, like yeah. So this is this is right here, London, Cathay Pacific Lounge, all bonded direct to gyp. When you bond direct to gyp, you can get premium wood, the same premium wood that you would do in the millwork, for about $40 installed per square foot. So you're saving now, but in sequence. Okay.
What's the difference in what you're gonna see visually if you put a level 4 versus level 5 finish behind?
Depends. Depends on your angle of view, depends on your lighting, depends on your species, depends on your sheen.
Yeah.
Depends. So here's North Miami. So this is a project we did about 2016. There's 1,600 sheets of veneer here, 4 foot by 13 foot. It's our biggest sheet. Now this is a reconstituted veneer. What does that mean to you when I say that?
It was recycled.
No. It's a man-made block. Okay. So recons are like pushing the easy button in sequencing. You can, like if I moved one sheet from here to there, you wouldn't see it so much because it's a controlled production. Okay. So that's why, Lynn and I will do these consults with you. We're going to ask you the questions about what does your client want to see on the final installation? Very few people are asking these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Usually no one is. And unfortunately, it's like, you only want your surprises in Christmas morning, right? So it's like, oh, well, that's not what I thought it was going to be because you're trying to design from sand. So because you got 1,600 sheets on this one, it's North Miami, Echo Condo is the project. All bonded directly to gyp, so it's all seamless. This was all installed by one guy, one human being, Lloyd Scheibner, wonderful guy. He's in his mid-70s, I think now. But he's incredible, like he's flawless. But the fact that 1,600 sheets were installed by one human being, what's one of our greatest challenges in construction? Trades. If I have to build millwork, I need a lot of skills, different skills. Whereas here, we ship a veneer ready to install. And now I need really well, we need also a good gyp person, right? And potentially a good painter who's gonna do the right primer, okay? So, digital print. Okay? Notice all that radius? That's where the dollars from the mill worker, now you're looking at 200. Because now you need special substrates. It's a lot greater complexity. Digital print, that's numbers go up. So Emory could not afford the millwork, but it was very important to their overall aesthetic. Okay. This is where Slam Collaborative knew the option of changing the means and methods to direct the drywall would save them a lot of money. Saved over $1 million. And that's how Blake and I met. Okay. But it was, I did have to have a little conversation. You remember that conversation? It's like, why am I here? I'm here because you guys saved $1 million. Now, gypsum is not the same substrate as millwork. So if I start to get up close to things, and the guy didn't quite get, there's a little mud bubble, at the end there, and you're like, oh, well, that's unacceptable. Well, you saved $1 million. Okay. So look at the big picture. But also too, even in the millwork industry, premium millwork, if you can't see it from 2 feet, it's not an issue. Economy millwork, if you can't see it from 5 feet, it's not an issue. So there's still, we have to be kind of accepting of that. Keep flipping, if you don't mind. We still do inlays. We do a lot of complex stuff. So whatever your designer, keep going. Whatever your designer's got in mind, the acoustics really does ramp up the situation. Let's stop here. So this is South San Francisco Community Center. This is in South San Francisco. And this was Smith Group, was the architect. So I get a phone call from one of the principals of Smith Group, and they say, okay, we've got this really cool project, but the mill worker won't warranty their work. And that's who I thought you were, by the way, when you voted me. Oh. Another handsome young man that I enjoyed meeting.
The roof?
Sorry?
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, no, anyway, so I got Blake confused with another young guy. So the architect says, okay, well, we want the humidity to be able to get up to 85% RH. No millworker in the right mind will warranty that. Okay, because you got your sweet spot millwork. What's that sweet spot? You guys know?
No, it will be a 60. No.
Yeah, that would be your high. Your 60 would be your high. Really, they're going to want you to keep it at 55. But I have a house in Boca. Keeping it at 55 is hard. You got to run dehumidifiers all the time.
Why do they want such a high unit?
Well, because this glass facade has a lot of doors that can open. And so they wanted to have the doors and the windows open if it were a nice day. Okay. And so the millworker said, nope, no chance. What the architect originally had specified was Douglas fir plywood just around, just kind of install around the bed, right? Kind of thing. So what does the estimator do? Young estimator, no offense to young estimators, go on HomeDepot.com, you find out how much is Douglas fir plywood, and okay, you double it, and then you double it again. And you figure installation, okay. An installation of any panel system, by the way, is going to run around $15 a square foot. Agreed? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's union, double that, $30 install, labor only. So I said to the architect, he said, well, what are you going to do about acoustics? I said, well, we didn't think about that. Didn't think about that. But what's that room? What's the function of that room? Well, it's a meeting space. Well, what do you think this is going to be when a few people walk in there and they're having a good laugh and you're trying to have a meeting? That's an echo chamber, man. That thing is going to, if you had Douglas fir plywood there, you just get that noise is just going to resonate like crazy. Okay. So I said, what if we were able to give you a substrate that didn't move as much, like acoustic one, okay, which is actually recycled glass, it's fiberglass, and we were able to microperf it, and now it's lightweight, so it's easier to hang. We give you the sequencing, and we did 2 independent tests, and we were able to prove that we were fine up to actually over 90% relative humidity, because my veneer is sliced at 0.2 millimeter. Normal millwork veneer is selected 0.6. So why can this veneer work direct to gyp? It's because of how thin we slice it. Okay. And now the veneer loses its strength from an expansion contraction standpoint. So it's not going to try to push itself or pull itself off the substrate. And so now a wall covering installer, because that aluminum foil has the structure that it does, and they can just use their skill set and glue it right to that gyp using a clay adhesive. And so that's why this can make so much sense. Okay. But in the case of the acoustic, it was gonna, unfortunately, it wasn't properly budgeted. Okay. So they didn't have any other options. We basically were the only option, because when we had the conversation of the acoustic, they realized how vital it was. Because why build a building that doesn't meet its purpose? Why build a school that the kids can't hear the teacher, or the teacher can't hear the kids? Why build a beautiful restaurant with a great meal where you literally are screaming at the person next to you? Okay, so I'm gonna kind of like zip through some of these slides super quick here. So Sanfoot's the brand. Started off as sales 100 years ago. Last year, our factory celebrated their 100th anniversary, 4th generation. The business in Florida is 50th anniversary this year. I'm a 33-year materials veteran. I've known this company my entire career. Really incredible group, incredible problem. So so now Mode Acoustic. Again, I am one of the fortunate principals of that business. And so we take that Sanfoot veneer and we micro-perf it exactly into that sandwich, right? So now, because Lynn and I get to work together and we get to help you address the wood on your job wherever it is, in a ceiling, on a wall. Oh, we don't need acoustic on those walls, but we just want to save as much money as we can. No problem. That'll be direct to drywall. Well, we've got some ceiling tiles, and we're coming off a T-grid system, or we want to do some kind of like we've got a big open, ceiling plan, but let's do some wood clouds to give some intimacy, right? Sure. Same production of veneer will go into those ceiling clouds. Lightweight, able to hang from aircraft cable. Okay, so we become really multi-capable in getting the wood in the job to do the job. And what I did point out in that South San Francisco install was that the lower bands, the low tour bands, that's okay, you don't have to go back to it. They were bonded to aluminum for high impact. So we adapt, okay? But because in the case of the Mode factory, what we want to do is we want to allow you to design freely, okay, and deal with your acoustic. So we're going to do wood, and we're going to do fabric and dimensional, but we can also do digital. So now the artwork could feasibly become in a sound absorbing panel. And like everyone else out there, we're doing PET. Okay. It's just this question of what's the right aesthetic, what's the right kind of design you want to do. And one of the nice things that we're doing is we're doing at no charge acoustic modeling. In the next slide. And so again, wood, fabric, felt, basically panels, baffles, and clouds. Next slide. And if you go to modeacoustic.com to schedule a live consult, you can speak with one of our 4 experts who will look at your drawings with you and make recommendations of where to put acoustic materials. Go to the next one. And go ahead and click on this slide. Okay. So this is, I get a phone call from this newly completed golf in Orchid Island. It's in the East Coast, south of Melbourne. And by the way, you can get Decibel X, a free app on your phone. Don't get the pro version, don't need it. Okay, so get the free version. And so they got a lot of complaints, people here with hearing aids, people with a lot of money, a lot of ego, and complaining. What do they want? They want resolution, because it costs $250,000 just for the privilege to join this place. So this is all built, but nobody took into account what the reverberation was going to be. So now these people all kind of have to kind of yell at each other. Here's where they are acoustically now. This is one of our free acoustic, 2-dimensional acoustic modelings. If we swap out all of that B-board for a dimensional fabric wrap, it can handle the humidity swings. This is all open air, and this is where they'll be. Ideally, that decision was made beginning. Because now you gotta, whenever you don't put acoustic absorption in your project from the onset, the cost to do it after the fact is 2.5 generally. Because now you're all of that material you just installed is trash or it's being covered up. So you wasted all that money and time and effort. And now you've got to go in an operating space. So it's a lot harder. So that's why we go ahead, next one. We try to get next slide. We try to get folks to just realize the importance of acoustics. But we still have folks just using it not only for acoustics, just because it makes sense from a design material. So this is Blake Sheldon's restaurant in Vegas. So digital print, lightweight, but there's not nearly enough amount of this material to really meaningfully absorb the acoustic. So this is really just done because it made the most sense from a easy material to ship and install. And so that's why I think we've got a really nice blend, next slide, of projects, also in Vegas. I took most of these pictures, by the way. This is a Wall of Excellence or Hall of Excellence. This was Tom Brady's, somebody I think you know around here, Tom Brady's personal collection. And he put that in the Hall of Excellence in Vegas. And so, this is all dimensional fabric wrapped material up there. So you walk in there, it's very pleasing. You're able to kind of, look at Elvis's suit and, pretend you're Elvis, which apparently a lot of people do in Vegas. But when we get to, this is in Mississippi, just recently installed. Jackson State, by the way. And we've got another project working on right now, but this is all fabric wrap, and it's just a very versatile, very budget friendly way to deal with really excessive reverb. Next one. This one again, fabric wrap. This one is in Dallas. It's a middle school. I've never seen such a big middle school. Incredible. Next one. So the fabric wrap really does give you a lot of versatility in panels, baffles, clouds. Next one. And again, remember, most of the wood veneer that's sliced out there in the market is sliced 3 times thicker than what we do. Our product is sort of cultural. You're not going to see other companies slicing logs to 0.2. It's very difficult to work with. You can't automate it. It has to be done by hand. So, we're not high volume commodity. We are premium architectural. Okay, so if you just want wood, it deserves. I think wood always deserves a conversation, right? But what we're able to do is something we invented about 60 plus years ago. Next one, and go ahead and push that slide. Click video. So obviously this is like what you would imagine wood veneer comes from, right? It's trees. But there are 2 general categories of wood veneer. You have commodity and you have premium architectural. That's what we do. We're only doing premium architectural. And we have to sometimes slice through a number of logs to get to the right perfect veneer that's right for that aesthetic. So we're most of the time slicing logs or building the veneer for the project specific requirements, tonality, grain, color. And so the term sequencing is it starts at this point where these gentlemen are looking at every single leaf as it comes off of the log. And as they are consistent, that can develop what's called a flitch number. And the flitch number is cataloged. How many leaves are in that flitch? What's the dimension of those leaves? So then when Lynn's working with you as your project champion, she is able to say, okay, what's your elevations? Share your elevations. Let's look at the raw materials we have in Rift White Oak, for example, so that those elevations are going to look right. Okay, but we're going to be asking the questions, what's the match? Have you guys really communicated with your client? Is that the match you really want? All of those questions. We can do random match, all these sort of things. But because it's one thing to slice, it's another thing to assemble it. And then those sheets will then, of course, have their own sheet assembly. And this requires a lot of communication. And this is why the word sequence will take a wood installation from $80 to $120 installed square foot. Okay. Because you can push the easy button on the Recon, okay, which is the man-made log, and the sequencing becomes way easier. And so you're gonna save money there. So there's just a lot of different ways we can sort of squeeze the balloon, because this is handmade, very visual, takes time, right? Do we stock veneer? Yes, we can get veneer pretty quick if it's a relatively small project, right? And sometimes that's really hard to get mill workers to even look at small areas. So sometimes this might direct the drywall thing may become the choice, just because you can pull the execution much more simply or last minute, because you can get somebody out there framing and putting gyp up and mudding it while the veneer is getting pulled together, right? And this was very much the last thing that goes on the job. Okay, next slide.
What's the same videos go back and forward? Here we go.
Okay, cool. So this is how it all started. Who had one of these? Great hair. Thanks. The TVs prior to these TVs, right, were like General House, Westinghouse, stuff like that, right? And those were millwork boxes, okay? And you probably have to watch old TV shows, you know, Stranger Things or something like that, you know, to see that sort of stuff, okay? When I was growing up. So because those millwork boxes were in all sorts of humidity levels, if it was high humidity, you would have what you have. That's why the millwork industry has an issue over 60%, because that veneer wants to expand and push itself off the substrate. The reverse in Vegas is the low humidity is now that veneer is trying to contract. It's going to contract and pull itself off the substrate, right? So it's either going to push or pull. So when Sony said, well, hey, we saw where all Americans, the problems that they're having, come to our factory, let's solve the problem. Japanese are good at that. They're also good at slicing things really thin. Go to a sushi restaurant and just, you know, buy Japanese knives, the best in the world, right? So they're really good at cutting things. And so by slicing the veneer so thin, then they're able to reduce the expansion contraction, bond it to that aluminum foil. Now it's able to disperse the heat. They solve the problem. Well, they're not selling, Sony's not selling these two TVs anymore, right? Or at all. So, what other market is well suited to this low expansion contraction? This is one of the markets we supply quite extensively. If you own a Lexus, anybody own a Lexus? That's our veneer, for sure. Okay, but other automotive producers are using that veneer for that reason. Next one. So next one, you know, this is millwork, right? So we're veneer people. We're substrate agnostic. It's like whatever we want to do. It's just what makes sense. What can you afford? Now, this was Bernie Madoff's money, by the way. Well, it wasn't Bernie Madoff's money. It was the money he made off with. So there was a high budget. It's a beautiful theater that was done in 2015-ish. And but all of that Mowabi, there's over 2,200 sheets that came from one log. 2,200 sheets that came from one log. I have to repeat that. Wood is a lot like a fish market. Veneers are a lot, because Mowabi veneer can't really get it right now. Geopolitical issues. Okay, so we have other species maybe we source in South America, right? But we backlit stuff. Next slide. So let's kind of give a quick review on millwork versus direct-to-chip. So and just kind of look at all the different substrate, well, not all of them, but the general kind of most popular substrate options. And this is the world I grew up in. So the substrate is almost never going to be plywood and wall panels, because plywood's not known for flatness. So you're going to go with an MDF panel, which is very heavy, by the way. So that 3/4 MDF panel weighs about 3.5 pounds a square foot. Remember that one, which is about 1 inch thick? It only weighs 1.5 pounds. Okay, so again, that ease of install could make the installation, final install product as acoustic, in some cases, even less than the millwork, which you have to engineer for. And if you need that acoustic, no brainer, right? So you can give your client kind of like, hey, I know how we can get this about the same price, and you can get acoustics, which I realize you don't have here and you're going to want. Side note. So once you do this, it's called the layup process. Whatever you put on the face, you have to put on the back. That's called the balance panel. So you need that expansion contraction on both sides of the panel. Next one. After you have it laid up, you need to have a dimension. That's going to come from the shop drawings. That all takes a lot of time. No one does that for free. And then you're going to need some sort of firm strip, because the subwall is now flat. You're going to need some sort of Z-clip or French cleat. Has anyone watched people install these? Doesn't happen fast, does it? Oh, okay. No. And it always happens with at least two people. Okay, usually four. And so just for those of you who have not watched this process, they'll go up and they'll install a panel. First off, they're gonna get the Z-clip exactly or in the zone where they need it to be. Gonna hang that panel, move away. Not quite right. Remove the panel, do some shimming, some tweaking, hang the panel back up again, back away. Almost. Final tweak, put it back up, back away. It's right. Take it away, put a little adhesive on it, put it back up. Good. Next. That's why it's $15 a square foot, or 30 if it's union. Next. The acoustic becomes more easy from an engineering standpoint. It's lighter. And if you need it, we talked about that enough. Next slide. And we've already talked about that job, right? So I see too often, next slide, that, and we kerf this to make it work. Next slide. Remember, there's two bands below our impact with the aluminum. We basically built very much like an auto dashboard with a peel and stick, the same peel and stick we use in the auto dash industry. So it can really handle extreme humidity swings. So we're very adaptive. Next slide. There's my daughter, Blake. Blake met my daughter on the Emory job, trying to pull my kids in business one way or another. But that sequencing, man, I tell you, if you don't pay attention to that sequencing, it can be a real black eye on your project. Okay, and I'm going to show you at the end of this what that can look like. Next slide. But sound is, it bounces off of stuff, it goes around things, it gets diffused. Next one. And because I have that decibel app and because, I'm part of this world, I use it in a lot of places. And very often the restaurants are falling right around here. Literally, you're trying to have an intimate dining experience along the side of a highway, acoustically speaking. Okay. You want to be here, but how do you know it's enough? That's where the acoustic modeling really comes in. Next one. And if you're in a corporate environment or you're in any other environment, your brain can only handle 1.5 conversations at a time. And every time you lose your focus, it takes you 15 seconds to kind of get your focus back, if you can get your focus back.
Understand.
Right. And ADD is like the norm. Okay. I have,
Yes.
it's my life. Right?
Same.
Next slide. So, but whether it's a medical space, you're not going to get well if you can't relax. I'm constantly tortured by leaf blowers and weed whackers in my town. You just can't, we just want to have a good human experience, right? So this is why acoustic materials, next one, are important. Or, if you're a boss and you're employing people and you want them to be productive, give them a space they can focus, let them get their jobs done, right? Next one. I see this too often where the acoustics are VE'd out. Okay, I also see, next one, I see a lot of spaces where, also there's a whole industry of just what I call holy panels, probably in your library. A lot of companies do it. They just create a panel with a lot of holes in it. And now you have to deal with the sound absorption in other ways. And they leave that to the subcontractor. In your experience, when you are reliant on the subcontractor for things, what happens?
Go south fast.
Thank you. It does. So that's why with our stuff, it's one and done, right? The product is what it is. It is doing its purpose. You don't need another person to add something else. Next slide. So, whether you want to do baffles or things, in fact, the coffee shop, I'm sure you guys have gone to right here. Okay, I took a picture of it and I was using it for Lynn as part of her training. I said, what do you see up there, Lynn? You see a lot of beautiful wood baffles, okay, wood timbers. Well, those wood timbers are heavy, okay, and they're not absorbing any sound. So I asked the gal I bought this tea from, and I said, can you hear your clients? She goes, no, when it's busy. So now you've got frustrated employees, you got frustrated customers, and a lot of money was spent to put those really heavy wood baffles with all these giant tie rods, because these weigh a ton, and they could have spent less money and did this, and even put their lighting into it. Okay, right. So that's the frustrating part is with a little bit of knowledge and understanding of what's out there in the marketplace, those same dollars should have been helping solve more than just the aesthetic. So we have different systems, next one, different systems based on, like this is all, they wanted to toenail this with a little adhesive. This is a private basketball court in Nantucket. This is somebody's house. Yeah. So again, you're gonna put the time and effort to ship all this stuff to Nantucket and install it, you might as well make the basketball court a pleasant place to play. Next one. This is assisted living in Arizona. This is all kit, right? Next one. This is South Green Elementary, and all of these planks and those are 2-inch thick beams there to absorb sound. So you get the intimacy, cost effectiveness, next one. But, we can single source your acoustics. So this way you're gonna have to go to this company and that company and that company. We can give you really a package, and that package comes with the acoustic modeling. So now your client is empowered with it. I know what this will sound like, or at least have a really good idea before they've gone with, okay, committed to deposits, okay? So keep going. So we fabric, wood. In some cases, you go too far, like the seats are absorbing sound, right? Every other wood is absorbing because all of this is absorbing. You can go too dead acoustically or too dry and it becomes awkward. You can lose your balance actually if you absorb too much sound. So in this case, we worked with an acoustician, and because there's audio generation there, etc. And if I walk in alone, it's weird. But if you're in there with 50 plus people, it's right. Okay, so that's where that acoustic modeling comes in, so important. Again, we do a lot of places of worship, First United Methodist in Miami, looking over the cruise port, all that cherry quarter cut in sequence. But next slide, and notice you don't always just want to use one material. So we use the fabric and the felt there. Next one. Multi-substrate, right? You got the clouds, you got your direct to drywall, you got your millwork. Next one. Now this is important because this is what's trending in. In fact, we just got a really cool project from the millworker who was tasked by the architect to give a seamless wood installation. Next one. And you can't do that when you have a substrate that's expanding and contracting. You always have to have a reveal to allow for the dilatation of the panel. But when the substrate is gypsum, you can do what's called the overlap and the double cut. And so now that sequence walnut. Now what happens if you pull a sheet from a different box? It's gonna look weird, right? So that sequencing really needs to be adhered to, to be followed, okay? So it does take extra care and attention, next one, to keep it going. So the flat cut, you get the cathedrals, next one. The quarter cut, you get more linear because it's going very perpendicular to the grain, next one. Rift cuts, that log now is just kind of the quarter cut-ish for oak. It's got a little bit of a radius to it. Next one. Rotary is what you see on your plywood. So they spin the log. Next one. This is what a man-made log looks like, aka reconstituted log. Okay, so it's like a tiramisu recipe you can repeat over and over and over again. So you get consistency. AC Marriott. I took this picture, quarter cut, book matched with a stain. So you get UV stability with the stain. Notice this little thing, that's not a defect, that's called limbs on a tree. This is what happens with trees, right? So, so this is, if your client has an issue with that, you don't want natural, you want recon, right? So these are some of the questions that Lynn and I are going to be asking you and your client. We can get in a virtual meet and just really kind of understand really what do you want to see on your job. Next one. When you book match quarter cuts, this can happen. This is called barber pole, right? You're going to see this a lot indoors now because this is a common specification. But because now you have light refracting in opposing directions. Next one. But we can have fun with light refraction. Next. Next. Slip match, all of them go in the same direction. Next. Random match, we jump along. When I have big jobs and you're committed to natural, I see this one as the common desired match. We just jumble them up a little bit. Very, very intentionally. Next. But again, Echo Condo, next. Big jobs, recons are very often the right way to go because you're pushing the easy button on sequencing. And by the way, that's a recent picture. So if it's installed right, it's a great long-term solution. And if it gets dinged or scratched or something, the wood guys that are good at fixing wood can still fix this. They're they call them the wood doctor or door doctor. These people are usually on speed dial for anybody that delivers furniture for a living. Okay, you can find them online. They're usually people that just know wood, they know finishes, they know waxes, pencils, and they just make it look right. Okay, and it's amazing what some of those people can do on jobs. In a lot of big jobs like this, they'll have a guy, and they'll come in once every quarter, and they'll just fix the little pings and dings. Next, can't do that with a lot of materials. So you're going to bond direct the gyp. Here's how it works: clay, literally George clay, salt, water, and some chemistry. There's your primer. The primer and the clay are vital to a good installation. So they can't just do whatever they want. Next one. And then go ahead and press that play button there. So the 4 or the 5, but this is Dalmore Hotel in Fort Lauderdale. Oscar, obviously, he's got some years of experience on. Makes this look easy. I would say this was a level 3 wall, but the lighting, the direction of view, it was just fun. For somebody like myself who grew up in the millwork business, this is so complicated. The door frames, ceilings, inside corners, outside corners, wiring for a doorbell, outlet, all this stuff. And when you're the millwork guy, you've got to set up a small shop on the job site to deal with all those little finesses that you have to trim on the job site. And then you got to carry that big heavy panel up the elevator and then position it. It's painful. Watch this happen. It's easy, right? And what else do you get? You get your classic fire rating. You get more real estate because you're not taking up that inch from your wall, build up off the wall. And you can be finishing up an entire floor a day. So it's either going to be time, money, but maybe your client actually cares about Mother Earth. Maybe they say, what's the greenest way I can do? I want to tell a great green story, or I want to feel good about what I'm doing. Okay? Think about it. It's easy math. The millwork panel is 20 millimeters, 3/4 of an inch. Okay? That veneer is 0.5 millimeter. So you're using 100 times less stuff. It's kind of a more with less discussion. Less people, less time, a lot less money. Makes a lot of sense. Next. So, the overlap and double cut in, we see a lot of these kind of corridors, but also even the main elevator lobby areas. Next. Next one. Premium brands as well as budget brands, because the budget brands can afford it as, a splash if here or there. It's the condo commando dream come true. You don't have to have all those loud noises, and you can pull off whatever's there, get a good gyp up, and next. Maybe you've got a metal substrate. You can contact cement, press that video. In this case, they're doing contact cement, but I personally love peel and stick adhesive. We can take certain sheets out of the production of veneer and put a peel and stick backer on it. And the peel and stick, it's just like a big dashboard. And there's a lot of tradespeople that are comfortable with peel and stick these days because you've got a lot of products out there that are using it. And so that would be the way I would do that. Let's just keep going. So this is a metal substrate. Notice how we can bend that. Now, you need that radius to bend that. But you can go much tighter if it will parallel with the grain. The thing though is you soften the veneer a little bit of moisture or steam and it can fold, but that has to be perfectly straight. And so when people say, can I fold around an outside corner on gyp? Don't. Why? Because it's not straight. Can't get it straight. So most guys, they'll just cut that next one. But this was existing millwork, and this was the elevator cabin in Minneapolis, and they wrapped that veneer. They stick a little piece of foam in there to get that to bond properly. But this was done like 7, 8 years ago, and they have a door doctor come in monthly. They just kind of clean up any little pings and dings. Next, here's your emery wrapped around the metal door, all fried regular reveals. Next, here's the other part of that emery job. And, when we got down here, you could see some of the little issues in the gyp, right? Remember, Blake? And
sunlight Plus in it, window.
Yeah, but when professionals are on the job, we have a different eye. Okay, so we have to be thinking about why did you do this? Because you save a lot of money. What's acceptable to you, and what is the overall aesthetic that's going to be pleasing to the clientele in the space? And I think we really nailed it on this in the end. But there was an issue. They were pissed off at the installer, because they fell out of sequence here or there, right? So communication is really key. Next, we're almost done, guys. Check that video. This is cool. I was just on this job last week. UPenn Life Science. This is cool. You can't afford this as millwork, but I prefer glass reinforced gypsum in these sorts of installs. This is 3 sheets across. The sequencing is spot on. Beautiful install. Yep. Affordable using this means of method. But we really need to talk this through. We need to be a team when we do this. And by the way, this is what gets me up in the morning. I love this. I'm a big kid with Legos, right? So like I share that excitement. We actually got this project, this one in Rochester, because the mill worker was tasked by the architect. I said that, right? You can't do millwork seamless. So the mill worker communicated with us, and we're doing that right now in install. Next. This is in Houston, glass reinforced gypsum as a pre-made form. And you do this as a recon, it's much easier install. This is the Thompson Hotel in Houston. Next slide. All these columns are just direct gyp, cut at the joint, just a little bit of color fill in there. Next one. We can wrap outside corner guards. That's important to do, I think, with the scraps. Next. Laurels are coming back into fashion next. And lots of different species. That's a eucalyptus, red gum, beautiful, right? So if you have whatever your aesthetic is, next. Walnut, flat cut, book match, yeah, next. I took this picture 12 years after it was installed in a North Miami LA Fitness, next. Next, let's keep going, next. There's some really cool outside plastic corner pieces we could use. That's called Profilo. It's good detail. Medical, but not where they have all of the heavy maintenance. Okay, so this is going to be in the lobby areas. Next. Next. Radiuses are easy, but you can't stretch the material. So you can form it one direction, but not 2 directions at the same time. Not easily, at least. Next. Digital, next. We talked about this one already. Next. This is the W Hotel in Austin, just done, all direct to gyp. So again, those sequence conversations are important. Next. Same project, eucalyptus, a lot of species. So don't just think it has to be oak, maple, or walnut. Next. Just keep going. I'll tell you when to stop. Keep going. Oh, stop here. Done this for fresh. So we had this discussion with South San Francisco. This is what it looked like the day it showed up on the job site. But this is what it will, if the sheet of veneer that sat in a box for 3 years, this is the control sample that was sitting out in the library for 3 years, which one you show your client, right? Every species has its own way it oxidizes. So this is important. We're all we're working with a natural material. Next one. This is all bonded to gyp, and the rift cut white oak as book match, so you can kind of see some of that barber pole. But again, just know it could be what you want, right? You just want to be prepared. That's all. This is when you know you're spending too much for your lattes. Bonded to metal. Next one. And they loved it so much, and they had so much of your money, they did it again in Tokyo. So this one is the acoustic micro perf, just like that sandwich you see there. Bonded to metal, bonded to gyp. That's that multi-substrate really being celebrated there. Okay, next. Bonded all to metal beams using contact cement, but I would use peel and stick. ACM can handle any humidity. This is effectively your interior panel for your dashboard. This is like, it can handle anything at that point. Next. Direct gyp in LA, go. Next one. End matching could be great. Not in every situation. Next. This is what happens when you don't put the word sequencing in your spec. Or they say, oh, no, it'll look great, non-sequence. Now, in certain cases, if you did this as a recon, it would look okay. But as a natural walnut, which has a lot of different tones to it, if a spec was out quarter cut walnut, right? Book matched, they meet the spec. But the architect and the owner were not happy here. Okay, so they brought me out to the CETA site to say, don't let this happen to me. And of course, that's not what we do next. So we're pretty much there, guys. So Rochester, all bonded to JIP with the Fry Ribbit reveals. It's an award-winning project. So if you don't have the budgets for Alice Tilly Halls, you can still give that wood look. We're there. We gave you pretty much a whole CEU if you need a certificate.